What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Creative Director Studio. Remember, Creative Director Studio is the place to stay inspired and stay motivated to take your career to the next level. So, today we're talking about something that's really a big topic amongst the creative community. We're talking about imposter syndrome. Now, Joey and I like to use the word self doubt over imposter syndrome. And so, today we have just some simple mindset shifts. So we got two big mindset shifts. So, stick around because we're going to cover those right now. So Joey, let's kick it off. Like, how about kicking us off for the first one?
Yeah, definitely. And the way we're thinking about these mindset shifts, they're phrased like a transformation statement. So going
Yeah,
from one thing to something else, this idea of how to literally shift your thinking. So we use that structure deliberately to make it feel like a transformation that you can start today. So let's dive into the first one. Going from a place of comparing yourself to celebrating someone else's work. So going from comparison to celebration. Let me build this out a little bit more. So when we think about looking at other people's work, we need to first remember that we're all at different points in the creative journey. That's something, Corey, that we talk a lot about on this channel,
yeah,
and really why we created it. We have a lot of you watching that are new in your career. You're aspiring to become a creative leader, creative director, and many people, Corey, we know are currently in this role and want to do better, do more exciting things. No matter where we are in the journey, that's the beauty of this process. We can learn and grow. But because of that, sometimes we're looking and admiring things that are created by people that are much farther along than us, or just had a bout of success, quite frankly, and they've really gotten something that's hit the market in a big way. And so, Corey, I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. Maybe this resonates with you, but
yeah.
when you're looking at something and you have that feeling, in the pit of your stomach, it's like you're like, that's good. And it's good. And then for that moment, you're celebrating it. But then it turns to this weird feeling of like,
Hmm.
it's jealousy mixed with kind of annoyance, mixed with I just want to close the laptop and not look at it anymore because I don't really want to see it because it makes me mad. I wanted to do it better. I should have done it first. Maybe this resonates. Maybe it
Yeah,
resonates with a lot of you. It's that mixed feeling like, oh my God, I need to work through these feelings because I like it and then I hate it at the same time. That's comparison. Okay. That's comparison. And so moving to this place of celebration could look like this. So actually realizing that the person that made the piece maybe had similar feelings to you. Maybe they questioned their thoughts or whatever going into it, but understanding and appreciating what they've done with that particular piece, starting to look at it and celebrating this win that this person had, because it creates this energy shift where we're giving back to the community and we're celebrating the success of someone else, which in turn makes us more excited. It puts us in a place of positivity and removes us from being in this place of negativity. And I think that energy shift is really big,
it
because
is.
also it's this scarcity mindset that a lot of people talk about, in entrepreneurship, sometimes in the creative space, that only one of us can be at the top, only one of us can win. There's only so much to go around, and that's just not true. I don't
No.
believe that's true. I think there's more than enough creative ideas to go around, and just because they did something doesn't mean that you can't build on it and collaborate maybe with that person if you have access to them. But even if you don't, you can really build their success into your ideas and turn it into something maybe even greater than that. So, Corey, I think that mindset shift is huge. This is not something that's easy to do.
No.
We always fall back into sometimes our old ways, but try to catch yourself when you feel that feeling in your stomach that you're comparing yourself, and start celebrating.
Yeah, so that's a really great point. But before we go on to the second one, which is very much related to that, I want you to go ahead and like and subscribe. We've got a lot of great content coming up. We don't want you all to miss that. But the second mindset shift or this transformation is going from ego to from ego to empathy. And what that really means is, so when we think about those negative feelings that Joey just mentioned that sort of ruminate whenever we start looking at work, and we get this comparison syndrome, this self-doubt, really that's just our ego kicking in. It's our ego is. And so when we look, let's look at the definitions. So when we look at the definition of an ego, a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance, key self-importance. Now when we look at empathy, on the other hand, so let's take a look at that. The ability to understand and share the feelings of another. And I found that when I started checking that ego and started to replace it with an empathetic approach and really celebrating others' work and really looking at it in an admiration with lots of admiration, that sort of changed the way I thought about their work. So then I'm sort of looking at it from a learning mindset, and I think it's really important to look at the work of others and just break it down. Think about how they create it. Use it as an opportunity to learn. And a lot of times, these creators who've created this work that you're admiring, celebrating their work and reaching out, there a lot of them are really approachable and they love to hear good feedback. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with some amazing creatives, people I've really admired, just saying that's really great work. I love what you did there. And some of those even turned into relationships or conversations, where I actually did get the opportunity to learn from them. So I think this empathetic approach, this learning mindset is really something that's going to allow you to become a much better designer, a more open-minded person. But I can tell you right now, one big point I really want to make about this idea of self-doubt. So many of you are probably familiar with the artist, the Grammy winning artist Billie Eilish. I watched an interview with her and David Letterman recently, and she talked about how she still has this feeling like that she's not supposed to be here, or that she's not hasn't made it yet. We're talking about somebody who's won seven, what, Joey, 7 or 8 Grammys.
Grammys, yes,
You
in a
you
short
know what
amount of
it
time.
takes in a short amount of time.
Yes,
So to win a Grammy and consistently is really, one Grammy would have been impressive, but 7 or 8, that's a whole nother level, and that puts you on a different threshold. So
yes,
when you see that and you see some of these amazing creators, amazing artists, and those people you really admire, and they're still having those feelings, that should tell you something about this idea that imposter syndrome and self-doubt is really not, it's not real. It's a feeling that we manifest within ourselves. Remember, it's within you. You're telling yourself you're not meant to be here, you don't meant to be here. And
yeah,
so I think that is really what we're talking about here, is changing the way you approach things, changing your mindset. And by doing that, you're going to understand, you're going to start to be more appreciative, you're going to admire more work, you're going to learn more from that work. And so that's the one big point I wanted to make about that. And I don't know if you have any closing thoughts here, but I think if you do these
yeah.
two big things, you'll be a much better creative.
Yeah, Corey, those are great points, and I'm glad you brought up Billie Eilish. You know, I'm a music fan. I'm a lover.
Yeah,
Used to DJ. Billie Eilish is particularly one of the artists that I watch, and I'm really glad you brought it up because
yeah,
there's also a lot on YouTube. If whether you know Billie Eilish or you're interested, or find another artist, there are many artists with a similar kind of success story. But watching her with some of her creations, so I watched a
yeah,
video of her years ago preparing for a Saturday Night Live performance, and she was explaining how she did this cool room that was flipping, and she was in it interacting with the room, and how she was describing the creative process with this small little box that she'd cut out, and she was explaining to them how it would flip, and she was collaborating with the people that was actually developing it with her. There was no ego. She was saying this may not work. It was this kind of excitement about the creative process. And I think that, so there's a lot with Billie Eilish that you can find there too. But that's what I love. I love that idea of people like Billy or other artists or creators like us, being willing to share that process. So when I think of empathy, that's what I think. If you can find ways to connect with those people on a human level that are creating, it makes it way easier to stop comparing ourselves and start celebrating their work because they're sharing ideas and ways to do that with us.
yeah. I love that. I love that, Joey. That's such a great story. And I think that, when we look at these brilliant creators, there's a lot we can learn by just observing them in itself. And so I think that if we could just leave you with those two big mindset shifts, I think that you're going to really start to see yourself become a much better creative and a much happier creative too. Like, we're talking about happiness, and when you start to value yourself and have more confidence, you certainly will be. But remember to go ahead and like and subscribe, but also let us know in the comments if you're feeling this feeling of self doubt. Like, let us know in the comments. Joey and I check those. We'd love to hear from you. Until then, we'll catch you next time.